The world as you know it is held together by a strip of water only 21 miles wide. It is the throat of the global economy, and by early 2026, Moscow and Tehran have decided to wrap their hands around it and squeeze. Imagine waking up to find your bank account frozen, gas prices tripling in a single hour, and the most advanced warship in human history, the $13 billion USS Gerald R. Ford, vanishing from every radar screen on Earth. This isn't a scene from a Hollywood blockbuster, it is the terrifying reality of the Hormuz Dead Zone Protocol, a strategic maneuver designed to decouple the West from its energy lifeline. As we speak, a violent electronic screech is shattering the silence of the Persian Gulf. A Russian frigate, the Stoichi, is executing a suicidal charge toward the American strike group, playing a game of chicken with a 100,000-ton supercarrier. But while the world watches the surface, the real nightmare is unfolding in the shadows of the electromagnetic spectrum. You are standing at a crossroads of global conflict, a moment where a single miscalculation could lead to the erasure of Russia's status as a global power. The global economy is currently bleeding on the floor of the Persian Gulf, and you will regret missing the tactical twist that is about to flip the entire board. This isn't just about ships in the water, it's about the weaponization of geography and the deployment of technologies so advanced they border on the occult. The Kremlin isn't just looking for a fight, they are looking to prove that the American system of systems is a glass cannon, ready to shatter under the pressure of a desperate, unshackled alliance. If this carrier collides with Russian iron, the global energy market will disintegrate before the first body hits the water. We are witnessing a new era of conflict, where the line between peace and total annihilation is thinner than a digital pulse. The stakes have never been higher, and the clock is ticking toward a 0 hour that no one saw coming. The crisis didn't start with a shot. It started with a desperate, secret handshake in a bunker deep beneath the Kremlin. Faced with a stalling front in Ukraine and crushing international sanctions that have begun to hollow out the Russian middle class, Moscow needed a second front, a distraction so massive and so volatile that the West would be forced to abandon Kyiv just to keep the lights on at home. They found their perfect partner in Tehran, a regime that has spent decades perfecting the art of asymmetric defiance. Together, they birthed the illegal toll booth strategy, a masterclass in gray zone warfare. The goal is simple, yet devastating. Turn the Strait of Hormuz, where 20% of the world's daily oil flows, into a private Russian-Iranian lake. They aren't just patrolling these waters, they are attempting to set up a strategic sledgehammer to break international law. By early 2026, this partnership has moved beyond mere trade. It is a full-scale military integration. Moscow provides the high-end electronic warfare suites and satellite intelligence, while Tehran provides the geographic leverage and the dragon swarm of suicide boats. They believe they can lock the gate to the world's wealthiest neighborhood and force the United States to pay in massive geopolitical concessions. Think of this strait as the narrow entrance to a vault. Russia and Iran are the burglars who have realized they don't need to blow the door off. They just need to change the locks. This alliance is built on a mutual realization that neither power can win a traditional war against the West, so they have chosen to fight a war of economic strangulation and digital deception. It is a gamble of unprecedented proportions, a Hail Mary pass thrown by two cornered giants who have decided that if they cannot rule the world, they will ensure no one else can enjoy it. The world is watching the Persian Gulf, but they are looking at the wrong map. The real battle is for the very survival of the global order as we know it, and the first move has already been played. At exactly 1200 hours, the world's throat becomes a high-speed collision course. The Russian frigate Stoichi suddenly banks, its engine screaming as it charges within 1,500 feet of the USS Gerald R. Ford. This isn't just a navigational error. It's a brute force visual execution. Simultaneously, the Russian bridge activates its high-gain radar jammers, flooding the air with a wall of electromagnetic white noise. Inside the Ford's Combat Information Center, the world is ending in a wash of electronic red. Radar is jammed. GPS signals have vanished into a total cyber blackout, and the air is thick with the scent of ozone and tension. Moscow believes that by getting this close and blinding the Ford's Aegis system, they can force the American giant to flinch. It's the tactical equivalent of a reckless biker swerving inches from a school bus while shining a tactical flashlight directly into the driver's eyes. The Russian crew is betting their lives on the idea that the U.S. Navy's rules of engagement are too rigid, too focused on avoiding an international incident. They want to show the world that a $13 billion ship can be bullied by a vessel a fraction of its size. It is a psychological assault as much as a physical one. The Kremlin's technical advisors are leaning into their consoles, waiting for the moment the Ford turns its rudder in a desperate attempt to avoid the collision. If the Ford flinches, the myth of American naval invincibility dies right there in the brackish waters of the Gulf. The Russian sailors on the deck of the Stoiky are literally gloating, filming the encounter on encrypted devices to be uploaded as propaganda the moment they return to port. They believe they have found the cheat code to American power. Sheer, unadulterated recklessness. They are playing a game of chicken with a nuclear-powered behemoth, unaware that the giant they are taunting has already stopped looking at them through a traditional lens. The U.S. Navy doesn't blink, because the U.S. Navy has already moved the fight to a dimension the Russians didn't even know was active. As the Stoiky closes the distance, the situation takes a turn for the surreal. This isn't just standard jamming. It is the deployment of a total GPS spoofing attack, a technique Moscow has been refining on the battlefields of Eastern Europe. The Russian intelligence units, working in a lethal loop with Iranian cyber warriors, perform what can only be described as a strategic miracle. They aren't just blocking signals, they are feeding a synthetic reality into the American navigation network. On the Ford's tactical displays, every ship in the strike group appears perfectly aligned, moving safely through open water. But in the physical world, the Fifth Fleet is being dragged by a digital lie toward a catastrophic collision course with a 300,000-ton civilian supertanker. This is the ultimate gray zone sabotage. Inside the Combat Information Center of an Arleigh Burke destroyer, the world is ending in white noise. The screens show clear water, but the lookouts on the bridge are screaming into their headsets. A massive wall of rusted steel has just materialized through the afternoon mist less than 200 yards away. It is the MV Asteria, a tanker carrying 2 million barrels of crude oil. Collision alarms are shrieking like a dying animal, a sound that pierces through the hum of the ship's computers. 300 American sailors have exactly 15 seconds to prevent an ecological and economic apocalypse. If the destroyer hits the tanker, the resulting spill would incinerate the Gulf and cause the global stock markets to flatline in minutes. The Kremlin is waiting for the accident that will frame the U.S. Navy as a reckless aggressor, a high-tech bully that couldn't even navigate a straight line. They have created a digital hallucination so perfect that they believe reality has no choice but to follow. It is a masterclass in deception, using the U.S. Navy's own high-tech sensors as a noose to lead them into $1 billion funeral. The trap is set, the bait is taken, and the world is holding its breath as the gap between the two ships closes to a terrifying 50 feet. But the U.S. Navy doesn't play by the enemy's map, and it certainly doesn't rely on a single point of failure. While the GPS is telling lies and the radar is a wall of static, the American sailors execute a digital lobotomy on their own navigation systems. We don't need the satellites to see when we have the laws of physics on our side. The Ford and its escorts switch instantly to the inertial lock, using ring laser gyroscopes that track the very rotation of the planet and the subtle pull of gravity. The system of systems bypasses the digital fog entirely. We deleted the spoofed data and shifted to pure, unjammable programmable inertial navigation. At the same moment, the Ford's crew activates its high-definition thermal sensors and forward-looking infrared systems. We aren't using radar to see anymore. We are using heat. On the Ford's screens, the story key isn't a blip. It's a high-definition 4K thermal image. We can see the exact heat signature of the Russian frigate's engine room, the temperature of its cooling vents, and the nervous, frantic movements of its bridge crew. Moscow brought a megaphone to a digital X-ray fight. They think they've won because our radar screens are blank, but they have no idea we are currently performing a spectral autopsy on their entire ship. We are auditing their mechanical heartbeat in real time. While the Russian pilot prepares to pull the trigger on his own weapon systems, he is oblivious to the fact that he is being watched by a set of eyes that doesn't need a satellite to kill. The giant didn't trip in the dark. He just found a new way to see through the lies. The American destroyer performs a bone-jarring emergency bank, its 100,000 horsepower engines screaming as it misses the tanker by a mere 50 feet. The digital hallucination has been defeated by the weight of 9,000 tons of American steel and the cold precision of gravity-based math. The hunters just realized that their prey has evolved. Just as the Stowie Keys electronic gambit fails, Tehran releases the bees from the jagged limestone caves that line the Iranian coast. This is the Dragon Swarm, 50 IRGC Zulfikar fast attack craft igniting their engines simultaneously. They scream across the water at 70 knots, a chaotic cloud of fiberglass and explosives. But they aren't charging the American fleet in a straight line. In a masterclass of asymmetric cruelty, the Iranian wolf pack weaves between a line of 300,000-ton civilian supertankers. Tehran is using the global energy supply as a living firewall. They know the U.S. Navy's rules of engagement are built on a foundation of restraint and the protection of civilian life. To fire a 5-inch shell or a harpoon missile at the swarm means risking a stray hit on a tanker, which would trigger the very economic collapse the U.S. is trying to prevent. It is the tactical equivalent of a swarm of angry hornets buzzing inside a room filled with dynamite. The giant is powerful, but he is handcuffed by his own morality. High above the chaos at 35,000 feet, Moscow adds the Eagle to the equation. A Tu-95 Bear bomber begins circling the theater, its long-range cruise missiles already powered up and receiving targeting data from the Iranian boats. This is the vertical squeeze. If the U.S. Navy focuses its digital eyes on the high-altitude bomber, the bees below will launch their short-range torpedoes at the tankers. If they focus on the swarm, the Eagle drops its payload from the stratosphere. Moscow and Tehran have created a perfect dilemma designed to split American fire control and shatter the system of systems. They believe they have finally forced Uncle Sam into a choice between a humiliating military defeat and a global economic funeral. They are certain that no commander would dare fire into the swarm while surrounded by millions of gallons of volatile crude oil. They think they have found the ultimate shield, but they've forgotten one thing. The American Navy doesn't just fight on the surface or in the air. The tension in the Strait of Hormuz has reached the absolute threshold of kinetic war. Washington has just declared DEFCON 2, and the final ultimatum is being broadcasted on every open frequency. Retreat now or face strategic erasure. Tehran and Moscow believe the U.S. Navy is bluffing, banking on the idea that an aircraft carrier is too valuable to risk in such a narrow, congested bottleneck. They think they've cornered the giant, but they are about to find out that the giant has been standing in their shadow for 72 hours. Suddenly, the deep blue water exactly halfway between the Iranian coast and the USS Gerald R. Ford begins to boil. A massive 560-foot-long black hole tears through the surface, shedding millions of gallons of Atlantic brine in a thunderous roar. This is the USS Michigan, an Ohio-class nuclear-powered guided missile submarine. Normally, these vessels are the ultimate ghosts, designed never to be seen until the world has already ended. But today, it is performing the most terrifying act of visual intimidation in the history of the Fifth Fleet. The message is ice cold and undeniable. By surfacing in the middle of the world's most dangerous choke point, the U.S. Navy has just performed a psychological lobotomy on the IRGC leadership. The Michigan isn't just a submarine, it is a floating arsenal carrying 154 Tomahawk Block 5 cruise missiles. Each one is currently receiving a final fire control solution for the Iranian subterranean missile cities and command bunkers hidden within the Kish limestone. Tehran's Dragon Swarm is still deaf and blind from the electronic assault of the Growler jet circling above, and now they are staring at a nuclear-powered predator that just materialized in their own backyard. This is the God Eye moment, the realization that while you were trying to jam the sky, a digital ghost was already holding a knife to your throat from below. The hunters have just found out they are trapped in a titanium slaughterhouse, and the U.S. Navy is simply waiting for a reason to pull the trigger. The standoff in the Strait of Hormuz finally snaps, not with the roar of missiles or the flash of explosions, but with the chilling silence of a total strategic collapse. Realizing that every single layer of their mission, the digital spoofing, the shadow link mesh network, and the vertical squeeze from the stratosphere has been systematically dismantled by American integration, the Kremlin and Tehran order an immediate climb down. A rattled Russian voice announces the successful conclusion of planned regional exercises over the International Guard frequency. Moscow and Tehran are attempting to hide their humiliation behind a thin diplomatic mask, but the world has already seen who truly owns the theater. The Russian frigate Stoichi and the remaining Iranian Zulfikar boats turn 180 degrees and limp back toward their ports like defeated men stepping away from a gallows. But the U.S. Navy doesn't chase. We don't need a massive explosion to claim a total victory. The real prize for the Pentagon isn't the sight of burning scrap metal, it's the petabytes of data harvested by the forward sensors during the confrontation. During this 180-minute standoff, the U.S. Navy performed a spectral audit of the Unshackled Alliance, capturing every unique frequency-hopping pattern of their newest radar and the mechanical DNA of their entire coastal fleet. We now own their electronic signatures for the next decade. While this engagement serves as a chillingly realistic look at modern warfare, the tactical dominance displayed is the absolute reality of 21st century conflict. The U.S. Navy doesn't just train with targets, we train with data. The ice-cold precision of our cloud-based architecture isn't a theory, it is the invisible wall that ensures your gas prices stay stable while our adversaries remain trapped in 20th century logic. If you are proud of the silent warriors who guard our interests while the rest of the world sleeps, hit that like button and subscribe to Navy Vector so you never miss a high-stakes mission. Go Navy!